Hey, how you doing? My name's Samuel. I'm a property investor, and right now I'm going to be answering your property investment questions, and whether that's around mortgages, tax, buy-to-let, HMOs, Sharia law. We've got some really interesting questions from last week's video, so I'm going to do my best to answer your questions from last week. However, if you're watching right now, please ask your questions below in the comment box, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my very best to answer your questions on my next Q&A Sunday video at 7 p.m. So get asking your property questions, ask right now, anything at all that is like holding you back, or if you've always wondered something about property or being a property millionaire or doing rent-to-rents, HMOs, service accommodations, lease options, whatever it might be, now's your chance to ask below. Also, don't forget to smash the like button. If you could do that for me, that'd be really help me out as a YouTuber. It helps share the algorithm to the YouTube gods so that more people get to see the video. So help me out, hit the like button, subscribe, and let's see what questions we have got. So last week, we had a guy called Hugh Brooke Williams, who said, "Hi Samuel, I'm 16, I've been watching you for the last 3 years. Living in Essex, where properties are expensive, I've bought your books, and I'm planning on buying your mentorship courses, and my father is happy to take properties for me in his name. I just want to know, what would you advise for my next steps?" Great stuff. So Hugh, you remind me very much of me when I was 16. I was starting out, I was going on different courses. My stepdad agreed as well to put properties in his name for me. And what I did was I got really good. First thing you need to do is you need to get really good at finding deals. If you can find really good property deals, that's what you need. Because if a good deal, you'll be able to attract the investment. You'll be able to get the finance on a good deal. Banks will want to lend on it. Angel investors will want to lend on it. People will want to come and joint venture on the deal. Your dad is happy to be a guarantor, so to speak. Now, what I did probably the wrong way was my stepdad, he put it in his name, but we actually had no written agreement between us. As far as legally was concerned, they were just his properties. So my first house that I bought, he hosted it for me. It became a little bit of a problem later on because when I wanted to switch it to my name, I had to literally buy it off him for the amount of the mortgage. So it was like a no money down, but I ended up having to pay stamp duty on it, and it was just a little bit, not great. Also, the property did double in value. And even though you love your dad, and I'm sure you trust your dad, and it's a really good gesture that he's offered, if you buy a property and you raise the money and you buy it, and he hosts it in his name, and then that property, shoots up in value, he might change his mind. He might say, well, look, I know we agreed this, but, so just be really clear. I mean, there's different ways you could do it. You could potentially do something called tenants in common, which is where, listen, I could spend a lot of time talking about this, but I would say you've got a great setup, get good at finding deals, speak to a mortgage broker and speak to an accountant just about how to best structure it. I hope that helps. Good job. Dawood Gujja says, I've currently got £50,000 to invest. Would you advise to go into BRRR deal or invest into something like a rent-to-rent? I'm patient for cash flow, but would rather make a large sum of money on the right deal than get cash flow as a bonus. I think it depends on what your goal is. If I had £50,000 and I wanted to invest it in property, it depends. I mean, if you're in a job that you hate, which hopefully Dawood is not, because Dawood works for me. But if you're in a job that you really don't like, and you just want to get out as fast as possible, then it might make sense to put a portion of that money, maybe £10,000 or something, into rent-to-rents to get some instant cash flow, and you focus more on instant cash flow. If you like your job and you're happy and you're thinking about just building wealth and growing your portfolio, then it might make sense to put the £50,000 into building a portfolio. But I feel like there's a conflict of interest of me giving advice right now, because Dawood is a member of my staff who's actually behind the camera. Who always, he always does this, because we'll be driving, he's my videographer, and he'll say to me, Samuel, do you know when you do a property deal? And I'll go, and he'll ask me a question, I'll say, that's a really good question, you know what? And he'll go, yeah, and I'll say, this Sunday at 7 p.m? He's like, yeah, I'm like, I'm doing a Q&A. Right, kind of a joke thing, but anyway, if you've got questions, whether you work for me, whether you're one of my students, whether you're brand new today, comment below. Did that help there, Dawood?
Great.
Good. All right, Brandon Carr. I'm wanting to get into property and property investing, and I'm starting a job as an estate agent. Is this a good idea to get me into property so I can learn all the ropes? I think it is a good idea, yes. If you're young and you feel like doing a job as an estate agent, I did this. I worked for Best Eves countrywide. I did it for about 3 or 6 months. I did learn quite a lot as an estate agent. I learned how to speak to estate agents. I didn't learn about property investing. In a estate agency, they'll teach you how to be a good estate agent. They'll teach you how to sell houses, how to sell homes. Not houses to investors, how to sell homes. I think it will give you a good foundation for sure, but you're not going to learn how to be a property investor as an estate agent. Otherwise, all estate agents would be property investors, but they're not. I know people that have worked in an estate agency for 20, 30 years, and they make 25 grand a year, and that's their job. So don't think that you're going to learn all the skills to become a property investor, but you're definitely going to learn some things, and it's going to be fun, and you'll realize how hard it is as well. I mean, geez, I found it's hard work. I much prefer being a property investor than an estate agent. Josh Christman says, what are your thoughts on university? I'm first year in college and weighing up my options. It depends on what you want out of life, man. If you want to be a property investor, if that's your dream, there is no point going to university to learn how to be a doctor. Don't make any sense. So I think a lot of people go to university and they spend £40,000 getting into loads of student debt, and then they get a job, but actually that's not what they want to do. But they think, oh yeah, I'll do that and I'll have my safety blanket. And then when I've got my nice comfy safety blanket, then I'll go and be a property investor or property entrepreneur. Actually, that safety blanket will really just mean that you end up becoming a rat in the rat race. And it's going to be harder and harder and harder. You're going to end up with a mortgage, then a car, then you get married, then you've got kids. Now you need this job. Why spend 3 years at university learning to get a job, then spending years depending on this job? Forget it. If you want to be a property entrepreneur, just do it now. So, but if you want to be a doctor, yeah, go to university. All right, SM says, my question is about buy-to-let mortgage interest and arrangement fees. As a general rule, do you always go for the lowest interest rate with the higher arrangement fee added to the loan amount? Or do you think it's better to go for a slightly higher interest rate with a lower arrangement fee? I understand you can calculate which is better deal over a fixed period, but I'm unsure as to the longer term implications and how to decide what's best overall. Any guidance will be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Depends. It depends on how much cash you've got. So if you've not got much money and you want to just put as little down as possible and you're happy to pay a little bit more each month, then that's fine. I do what works out best return on investment. So I just look at return on investment is how much annual profit are you going to make? Well, if your interest rates are higher, then your annual profit is going to be less because your rent, you have to pay more interest, so your profit's less. So I would take option 1, my annual profit, and then I divide that by the total investment that was needed and see what the return on investment was. Then I do option 2. Okay, well, if I go with the other option, how much am I going to put down? How much am I going to make profit? Divide the two together and just see what the higher return on investment is. And usually the one that gives me the higher ROI, cash on cash return on investment, is the one that I go for. All right, Tamil Reality. Would you buy an ex-council house? Yeah, sure. As long as it was standard concrete construction, yeah. Silver LTC. How can you buy a house and be Sharia compliant? I saw this question. Listen, I'm not a Muslim, I'm a Christian, so I'm not 100% on all the different, Sharia laws, but I know that a lot of our students who are Muslim, they can't take out bank loans or standard mortgages because as part of their religion, they can't pay interest on debt, which is great, no problem at all. So from the little understanding that I have on Islam, with the rich understanding that I have on property, I'll answer the question best I can, and that would be, number 1, you don't need to buy-to-let properties to be a property entrepreneur or whatever. Like, there's a lot of strategies where you don't need to do that, like deal sourcing and rent-to-rents and stuff. However, and also there are investors that you can go in together with on joint ventures. So you could find a cash-rich investor and go into business with them. You're not borrowing from them. They're putting the money down. You're finding the deal and doing all the work, and then you're taking a profit share on any future profits. There are lenders that will lend. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know that there are Islam banks. So I'll probably get one of my students, because I've got many who are Muslim, that have a real rich understanding on both property and the laws, and maybe we can have a conversation and discuss what happened, if that would be helpful. So that's it now. It's a wrap. I hope you found this little Q&A session really helpful. I really look forward to hearing your questions that you've got for me next week. If you haven't asked a question yet, do it right now. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.